Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 origin continent based on novel. So let's start. During normal cultivation, there are occasional moments when one state of mind is excellent and a flash of spiritual light occurs. However, after consuming the primordial crystal spirit fruit, with the fruit's energy nourishing the soul, Luo Feng could maintain a perfect state continuously, greatly enhancing his comprehension, and even accelerating his thought processes by 20 to 30 times. Luo Feng began to utilize material from the golden scale beetles and perfect primal chaos layer creatures, commencing his dissection and research. If I can fully grasp both the lineage of life spirituality and the body of life, then I can easily study and form the Trinity state. Merely relying on the accumulation of both lineages, at the pinnacle of the primal chaos realm, is clearly not enough. Luo Feng understood this, and could only continue to delve into his studies slowly. The process of delving was also a process of accumulation. Perhaps, I might become a godly king first, Luo Feng mused. He had a feeling that comprehending the Trinity form was no less difficult than comprehending a complete branch of the Great Tao. In the primordial cosmos, within that special space at the source ground, Luo Feng's divine power incarnation was also directly confronting the complete Great Tao of life origin. Life spirituality, body of life. Luo Feng carefully observed. Depending on the angle of observation, the complete Great Tao of life origin displayed different forms. It appeared as a twisting, 24-clawed dragon, or as an eternal river that pierces through time and space, or as an endless majestic godly body, or the origin of countless lives, or the very concept of life itself. As Luo Feng watched, his spiritual will was continuously baptized by the entirety of the Great Tao of life origin, drawing him closer and closer to the Tao. Trinity. Luo Feng murmured to himself, recalling the many detailed records on the Trinity from the life-body chapter of the 8 Tribulations life form, which described the first calamity. It felt almost within reach, yet just slightly beyond his grasp. Cultivation was like this. Many beings at the pinnacle of the primal chaos realm, even those who have transcended it, are stuck at a bottleneck, unable to master a complete branch of the Great Tao. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. In another space within the Star Tower, this was also Morosa's exclusive cultivation space. Since absorbing the corpse of the golden scale beetle, Marosa had been in silent cultivation, doing his utmost to digest it. At this moment, Marosa had long resumed his true appearance, transformed into a tall, fair-skinned, beautiful being. His appearance naturally carried a seductive charm. He was the darling of the path of destruction, and at this moment, he did not conceal the power of sector beast within him. This was his truest state. Morosa's aura suddenly trembled, a terrifying fluctuation spreading from within his realm and extending in all directions. His body naturally embarked on a transformation, evolving from the primal chaos realm to a higher life level. I've broken through. Morosa opened his eyes, filled with excitement, to break through from the primal chaos realm to godly king. This is a fundamental metamorphosis. The realm within me also now has the embryonic form of its final shape. Morosa was thrilled. The most core aspect of a sector beast lies in the realm within its body. With each life level breakthrough, the realm undergoes a metamorphosis. Becoming a godly king signifies the last of these transformations. From the first realm of godly king to the ultimate realm of god king, third realm of godly king, the realm within would only continue to be perfected, until it reached its ultimate state. It's been 60 eras since I came to the land of origin, and I've now stepped into the godly king level, much faster than I anticipated. All thanks to the corpse of the golden scale beetle. Marosa knew this very well. This single corpse of the golden scale beetle is worth the effect of thousands of primal chaos realm corpses. If he had to slowly absorb the forces of heaven and earth to become a godly king, it would take far too long. Suddenly, a figure appeared beside him. It was Luo Feng. Whether it was the sense of soul enslavement, or the perception of the interior of the Star Tower, Luo Feng detected Morosa's change instantly. You've broken through. Luo Feng looked at Marosa, who had now taken on an honest-looking appearance, but whose aura was clearly far more terrifying. Master, I've become a godly king, Marosa said with a chuckle, all thanks to the golden scale beetle corpse that you gave me. Luo Feng nodded slightly. It was a gift from his master, Emperor Chu. He had kept just 1% of the materials for himself, and had given the rest to Marosa. It seems the effect is indeed very good. Luo Feng was quite satisfied. His own cultivation and comprehension of the Great Tao were extremely difficult. Yet Marosa had a relatively smooth journey, and had now even become a godly king ahead of him. Marosa was also pleased and said excitedly, Master, after becoming a godly king, the realm within my body now has the embryonic form of its final shape. I now possess many powerful abilities. Oh? Luo Feng looked at him. Even without revealing my sector beast identity, I can use many techniques. Marosa was quite confident. For example, with the realm inside me, I can now cast a curse-killing technique. As long as I've seen the enemy once, I can perform a curse kill. Curse kill. Luo Feng was inwardly shocked. He himself was a cultivator of the great Tao of destruction origin, and was well aware of this Tao, which contains many destructive methods. For instance, the Black Sky lineage of the great Tao of destruction origin was particularly adept at assassination and curse-killing techniques. Most at the first realm of Godly King would probably be unable to withstand my curse-killing technique, Marosa confidently said. Under my curse, all of their avatars and survival tricks would be killed, forcing them to reincarnate. Luo Feng listened, deeply astonished. Forcing the majority of those at the first realm of Godly King to reincarnate. Aside from the secretive curse kills, I can also strike openly. My avatars can transform in thousands of ways and hide their presence just the same. Marosa was very confident. I can stir up trouble in the land of origin, anonymously striking from the shadows, and my enemies would be unable to detect my identity. Master, do you need me to take action? Marosa asked eagerly. Having been suppressed for too long, with my curse-killing technique, the enemy wouldn't even know who killed them. Marosa glared. Endure more. Your avatars can undergo a myriad of transformations. The traces of your curse-killing technique are hard to detect. Luo Feng gently shook his head. No matter what, you're still at the first realm of Godly King. There are many beings on the land of origin stronger than you, especially the methods of the two ancient countries. How much do you know about them? To trace causality. To follow the tracks of past space-time. Do you think you can really hide? Luo Feng shook his head. On the land of origin, there are only 71 who have transcended the primal chaos realm. There may be a few more ancient existences, but that's all there are. These ancient existences are mysterious to us, but to the two ancient countries probably have long understood everything. Those who are skilled in curse killing, capable of reducing a godly king of the first realm to reincarnation, are probably very few on the land of origin. Luo Feng looked at Marosa. Don't harbor any delusions of luck. Once you take a risk, there's a chance of being discovered, Luo Feng said leisurely. We've only been on the land of origin for 60 eras, what's the rush? Oh? Scolded by his master, Marosa could only obediently listen. Luo Feng, due to soul enslavement, could feel Marosa's innate desire for destruction. It was the suppression at the soul level that made Marosa so docile. Forget the present, even if you become a pinnacle sector beast in the future, you'll need my permission before you act. Luo Feng looked at him. Understood, Marosa obediently responded. Master, rest assured. I got somewhat arrogant just now when my strength greatly increased. I've sobered up now. It's good that you've sobered up. Now show me the great Tao of destruction origin that you've mastered, Luo Feng commanded. Yes, Marosa said. Only then did Marosa begin to exhibit the great Tao of destruction origin he had comprehended. See a th-novel.ia.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In a daze, Luo Feng saw an endlessly vast, dark black hole. This dark black hole was surrounded by numerous solidified secret patterns that naturally expressed a plethora of information about the destruction of the origin. Luo Feng was astounded. The countless secret patterns, incomprehensible to other cultivators, were laid bare for Luo Feng to read many messages from. You've mastered all 6 branches of the Great Tao of Destruction Origin. Luo Feng couldn't believe it. Although he had known that Marosa's natural growth involved the simultaneous development of all 6 branches of the Great Tao of Destruction Origin. Normally, a cultivator becomes a godly king by relying on one of the branches. After all, there are differences in comprehension speed. Yes, I absorbed the corpse of the golden scale beetle, and as my realm naturally grew, I intuitively comprehended the complete 6 branches when the realm transformed, Morosa explained. Luo Feng fell silent. He had not mastered even one branch, finding it incredibly difficult to comprehend. But here was Marosa grasping the entire 6 branches of destruction at once. It's not difficult to master the 6 branches, Marosa said, that's just the foundation. What follows is harder, as the 6 branches gradually fuse, and then I will need more food, or it will be slow. Marosa looked at Luo Feng. If the master didn't allow him to act, he would have to rely on the master to feed him. Mastering the 6 branches at once. Luo Feng was at a loss for words. Even the creators of the 8 Tribulations life form, and extermination of 72 blades, believed that during the primal chaos realm stage, it was best to focus on 2 or 3 branches. Only after becoming a godly king should one slowly expand. No more thoughts on that. Luo Feng was unwilling to view the growth of a sector beast from the perspective of a cultivator any longer. After all, it was an existence destined to reach the ultimate realm of God King. Luo Feng closely observed the enormous dark black hole before him. This vast black hole covered a large area of this layer of the Star Tower. The 6 branches of destruction served as the 6 keystones of this vast black hole universe. The 6 branches also complemented each other. Even though they had not begun to fuse yet, just the coordination of the 6 keystones made the operation of this vast black hole universe incredibly perfect. It's too perfect, Luo Feng was shocked inside. A normal godly king, by relying on a complete branch of the Great Tao, could form the cosmic operation laws and even create a universe with it. And this was a realm formed by the perfect collaboration of 6 branches. Its perfection in cosmic operation made Luo Feng marvel. This must be the operation of the realm inside Marosa, Luo Feng observed. Compared with it, both the Trinity form and the 10 directions world form seem too primitive. Trinity form, Luo Feng knew of 2 kinds. One where a large particle contained 2 internal yin and yang particles, the other where 3 particles of equal status merged with each other. Both were considered very primitive forms of small worlds. The 10 directions world form, on the other hand, was considered to be a relatively complete form of small world. But before him was a realm constructed of 6 branches, overwhelmingly impactful. 6 branches as the foundation to form a realm. In this shock, Luo Feng's understanding of realm greatly improved, and he immediately gained a clearer understanding of the primitive small world form of Trinity. Emperor Chu was right. Studying more advanced life world forms and then simple ones yielded great results. Luo Feng, after consuming the primordial crystal spirit fruit and comprehending the foundation of a sector beast's life the realm, now looked at the Trinity form, and indeed found many of his confusions resolved. Marosa initially displayed the mysteries of destruction's origin with great patience, but as time passed, he became somewhat astonished. How long have I been displaying this? 30,000 days. Why hasn't my master allowed me to rest yet? 50,000 days. 100,000 days, 200,000 days, 1,000,000 days. Unable to hold back, Marosa finally spoke. Master, may I stop now? Divine power surfaced around Luo Feng as he repeatedly tried to transform it. He looked up at the 6 branches of the destruction origin, now resembling a dark black hole. Has it been that long, and you're impatient with your cultivation already? Marosa could only keep silent. Luo Feng studied the 6 branches of destruction that constructed the realms, his understanding deepening. He faintly perceived the fusion of 2 branches into pairs, forming a stable triadic foundation. A triadic foundation, stabilizing the world. Luo Feng then waved his hand and sliced open particles from the material of a golden scale beetle's corpse. Inside each particle, 9 smaller particles divided into 3 parts were rotating and chasing each other. Each of these parts consisted of 3 particles fusing together. There were many commonalities between the triadic foundation of Marosa's realm and the fusion of these 3 particles. Following his intuition, Luo Feng repeatedly transformed into the Trinity forms he envisioned. With the aid of the primordial crystal spirit fruit, Luo Feng was in excellent condition, seizing every spark of inspiration, attempting over and over. Though each attempt failed, it allowed Luo Feng to accumulate experience. With each attempt, he edged closer to success. Finally, swoosh! With a casual wave of his hand, Luo Feng's divine power transformed, forming 3 mutually intermingling particles. These 3 particles, like a tripod standing firm yet subtly blending into one another, also had an intermingled core. Secret patterns infused deep within the particles, carrying essences of both life and destruction. It's done. Luo Feng knew instantly that he had succeeded the moment he made the transformation, guided by an indistinct feeling. He was naturally filled with joy. Master, have you succeeded? Morosa also sensed Luo Feng's intense joy. Let's verify it first, Luo Feng said. He waved his hand and created tens of millions of particles, then billions. Soon, he reached the extreme state of 1 quadrillion and 80 billion particles. Each trio of particles merged into one entity, amounting to 36 billion entities. 1 quadrillion and 80 billion particles converged into a black river that appeared before Luo Feng. Merely a single black river contained a might that amazed Luo Feng. It's finally done. Luo Feng could feel that it was a force more powerful than many at the pinnacle of the primal chaos realm. Each black river was like a perfect primal chaos layer creature. Saw the novelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Perfect primal chaos layer creatures, even with average intelligence and weaker moves, could match the strength of those at the pinnacle of the primal chaos realm in terms of bodily strength. Master, may I stop now? Marosa ventured cautiously. I don't need your help anymore. Luo Feng was intently changing his divine power, easily creating hundreds of millions of fused particles, and as time went on, the number of particles he transformed each time continued to increase. Let me take a look, said Marosa curiously, watching from the side. Black rivers after black rivers took shape. Towards the end, in just a few breaths, Luo Feng formed a complete black river. After transforming 100 billion black rivers, Luo Feng finally stopped. This black river form places a heavy burden on the soul. Luo Feng felt that as he controlled more and more black river forms, the burden on his soul grew heavier. Even though he had a perfect divine body, and was at the second realm of Godly King's spiritual will, and possessed the Lai Yuan technique to safeguard his soul, controlling 100 billion black river forms still seemed to expend over half of his spiritual will. To wield such a powerful physical body, one needed a soul that was equally strong. With my soul, with my spiritual will, just controlling the physical body, I already feel the pressure. Luo Feng realized how astoundingly powerful his body had become at this moment. One black river, in terms of bodily strength, was even stronger than those who specialized in the physical body at the pinnacle of the primal chaos realm. How powerful must 100 billion black rivers be? It was normal for Luo Feng to feel the pressure. Master, you, Morosa looked at his master with some astonishment. At this moment, Luo Feng's 100 billion black river forces had united, and his mere presence naturally affected the surrounding world. The rules in the vast vicinity naturally revolved around Luo Feng as the center, with even the supreme rules momentarily yielding. Every godly king who mastered a branch of the great Tao could influence their immediate surroundings to some extent. Yet Luo Feng hadn't mastered a branch of the great Tao. His sheer terrifying physical presence alone altered the surrounding rules. What's wrong with me? Luo Feng looked at Marosa. Marosa, looking at Luo Feng, felt the pressure too. As a sector beast who stepped into the godly king level, Marosa had mastered all 6 branches of destruction, experienced a 100-fold metamorphosis of divine power, and his life form was rapidly growing. His power was soaring to an extraordinarily high standard within the first realm of godly kings. The current Luo Feng gave him the impression that their strengths were closely matched. Transcendence of the primal chaos realm can be this powerful. Marosa realized at this moment that the natural talent of a sector beast didn't mean it was the strongest at the same level. You go out first. I need to focus on comprehending, Luo Feng thought, and he sent Morosa to his own space layer. Luo Feng began his research. My Trinity state is a part of the 10 Directions world form, which is made of the material from the golden scale beetle's corpse and also draws on some of the essence from Marosa's sector form, combined with the guidance from the life body chapter in the first calamity of the 8 tribulations life form. I finally cultivated it, thought Luo Feng to himself. This form shall be called Black River form. Just as he had cultivated it, Luo Feng could feel the many special characteristics of this form. Every Black River had extremely strong life spirituality, and each could exist independently. This could be considered a kind of clone technique as well. Having completely mastered the lineage of life spirituality, which can master the clone technique, the power in oneself contains extremely strong spirituality that can separate part of its power to exist independently. Now, every Black River could exist independently. If I wish, could I have 100 billion avatars? Luo Feng laughed to himself. Of course, he would not do that. The more the power was divided, the weaker it would be. With 100 billion Black Rivers converging into one, it would be very difficult for enemies to harm oneself. But if completely separated, some powerful enemies could easily sweep through all the weaker avatars by manipulating causality. My clone technique involves separating a part of my own power. Yang Su's clone technique, on the other hand, is about cultivating another complete avatar, reflected Luo Feng inwardly. Different paths truly lead to different outcomes. This Black River form can even form a world of its own. Luo Feng looked around. Even with all his power completely retracted, he could still affect the heavens and the earth all around, as if a domain. The Black River could even merge into the domain, forming a world of its own. Buzz. In the blink of an eye, a black world appeared within this layer of space inside the Star Tower, with Luo Feng standing at the center of this vast black world. This black world is different from the galaxy forms cage I used to create, which was formed by the intertwining layers of galaxy threads. This Black River world. I used the power of 1 billion Black Rivers to truly construct a world that blocks inside and outside, and even isolates some effects of causality, thought Luo Feng. 2 of Luo Feng's avatars left the Star Tower, heading towards Chu Capital and Huyang City respectively. Whoosh! Luo Feng, like a streak of black light, traveled through the world at an extremely fast speed towards Chu Capital. Only the Trinity state counts as a godly king level move, realized Luo Feng in this moment. Like the previous yin-yang particle state, a pinnacle of primal chaos realm that cultivates both life origin Great Tao and matter origin Great Tao, after paying a sufficient price and breaking through numerous thresholds, there's a chance to cultivate it. But even if one manages to cultivate it, the godly body, soul, and spiritual will are all far inferior to Luo Feng's. The units they transform into in the yin-yang particle state are much fewer than Luo Feng's. With a weaker soul and spiritual will, they can also control fewer units. The Trinity state typically requires the life origin Great Tao to reach the godly king level, allowing for relatively easy mastery. It also needs a very high realm in matter origin Great Tao to carry out matter transformation. The more complex the transformation target, the higher the requirements for the realm of material transformation. But Luo Feng's formless and intangible ability belongs exclusively to the perfect divine body. As long as one thoroughly researches all the mysteries of matter's composition, one can directly transform. My moves now genuinely have a godly king level realm, mused Luo Feng. People like Lord of Yuan Xiu Mansion, Great Saint Bai Yun, and Yang Su, each one of them had unfathomably mysterious moves, comparable to godly king level. Previously, Luo Feng relied purely on his perfect divine body and powerful spiritual will to exhibit such power with the yin-yang particle transformation method. Yet when engaging with opponents, Luo Feng always appeared clumsy. But now with the Black River form, many of his techniques have qualitatively changed. Whoosh! This avatar of Luo Feng quietly returned to Chu Capital and to his own cave mansion. From now on, this avatar will reside in Chu Capital, Luo Feng thought. This avatar was comprised of 100 million black rivers, and it also contained a reserve of divine power. It's worth noting that when Luo Feng employed the blade technique of Great Tao of Destruction Origin for long-range attacks, using several 100,000 blade lights was his limit. 100 million black rivers, whether in close combat or long-range attacks, would be formidable. In Yu Kingdom, Huyang City, Luo Feng's other avatar, also formed from 100 million black rivers, and containing a reserve of divine power. This is my city, Luo Feng looked at Huyang City. A part of me will also reside here in the future. Whoosh! This avatar of Luo Feng instantly arrived at the city owner's mansion, and retracted the divine power incarnation that was there. City Lord, the servants within the city owner's mansion all greeted respectfully, unable to differentiate between the divine power incarnation and the powerful avatar with their vision. One avatar alone has the strength close to that of a strong practitioner in the first realm of a godly king. Luo Feng stood on a pavilion in the city owner's mansion, looking over the entire Huyang city. In various aspects, my techniques are finally close to those ancient existences. The first realm of godly king, for those who have just entered, have relatively ordinary strength. Luo Feng's previous yin-yang particle state could compete with them, and transcendent ones of primal chaos realm also dared to fight these ordinary godly kings. But those with deep accumulations, who mastered several branches of the Taos and cultivated powerful inheritances successfully, had increasingly unfathomable and unpredictable methods. Like Marosa, who only needed to see the opponent once to conduct a long-range curse killing, or the ancestral god of the snow realm who, despite being a great demon in the first realm of godly king and ranking within the top 10 in sins in the land of origin, simply could not die. You should know that like the founder of the Heart Shadow sect, and the third-generation spiritual masters from the Duan Dong River lineage, many ordinary godly kings have already died over the long course of time. Of course, they might have also been reincarnated. No wonder many ancient beings create a stir, or even commit towering crimes and still manage to live well. As Luo Feng's strength gradually approached that level, he understood just how troublesome those opponents were. For example, he himself was difficult to deal with, each of his avatars was formidable, especially the one in Chu Capital. With his master garrisoning Chu Capital, it was incredibly difficult for enemies to kill that particular avatar. If not all the avatars are destroyed, one could easily cultivate back to full strength. This video will end here.